Hey guys, this is Ross, and today we are doing the JavaScript tutorial. Cause the past couple days we did our HTML tutorial, we did our CSS tutorial. So today I'm showing you how to build a calculator in JavaScript. Here is what the calculator is going to look like. I already wrote it in the HTML and CSS. It will be fully available to you, so you can look at the code, you can see how it works. But currently, let me refresh it. Currently, it doesn't actually do anything. You press buttons, nothing really happens, right? Nothing happens. So again, I'm going to show you the code for those things, and then I'll show you the JavaScript. So let's jump right in. First off, we have our HTML that I wrote for this project, right? We have our title, as you can see up here, Intro to JavaScript. I included a style sheet, just like I showed you in the last lesson. And then in our body, I have a div, a divider that contains everything in here. I gave it an ID of app. Now an ID is something that we can use to select this div in particular. Kind of like we used classes in the last one, we can use an ID, right? We see we have class. Class is a selector we can use in like CSS, stuff like that. The difference between a class and an ID is an ID can only be used for one element. You can use classes for as many elements as you want. You can have 15 or 1,000 different elements with the same class name, but you must only have one element with each ID. An ID is unique to one thing. Anyway, we have our heading calculator right there. We have a little description, and then of course we have our actual calculator. You see it's just an input, a form input, and then a div with a bunch of buttons in it. The plus button, the minus button, the times button, the divided by button, the equals symbol, and the clear button. And then of course down here we have a script tag, script source equals script.js. That's how we pull in the JavaScript we're writing. And then of course we have the file that we wrote for the JavaScript called script.js, which there's nothing there right now. Also, let me just show you the styles really quick. In our CSS, I made the font family sans serif, so it looks clean. Let's see here. What else is there? Oh, let me turn on Zen mode really quick. There we go. That looks better. We just have some styles. This really isn't important. It's not part of this lesson. I will answer any questions you want about the styles, but let's just get into the actual JavaScript of everything, because that's what you're here to learn today. So JavaScript is the way that we're going to give this functionality. We're going to make it actually do stuff when we hit these buttons, because currently nothing's happening. JavaScript is an actual programming language. Unlike HTML, unlike CSS, JavaScript can perform logic, it can perform math. So I'm just going to explain a few concepts to you. First off, this web browser, I'm using Google Chrome. A web browser is really just a way to view a certain type of document on your computer. And these documents are the kind that are written in HTML, they're written in CSS, they're written in JavaScript. And when we want to make something happen in that document, we have to call it from our programming language, in this case JavaScript, using the word document. So you're just going to see that in the code, so I just wanted to tell you what that is. Now I'm going to teach you about something called a variable. All right, let me zoom in a little bit. Variables. A variable stores information so that it can be used over and over. For example, I could have a variable in JavaScript, we just say var, okay, and then you call it something. I'm going to call this one name, and it can just hold my name, right? And then we can use my name as much as we want in our application. So I actually made a little example. I'm just going to paste it in here, okay? So this is going to show, well, I'll just show you what it does actually, okay? So, okay, let me refresh, and here's a little pop-up box that says, hi, Ross Libby. And then the next one says, Ross Libby, did you miss me? And then the next one says, okay, Ross Libby, see you later. As you can see, it's a really clingy, annoying box. But the point is, it showed my name 3 different times, but I only typed it once because this variable name stored it. So now, if I want to make a change in my program, let's say someone named Billy is using it, then I just write Billy. I'll save that. And now, let me refresh it. It says, hi, Billy. It says, Billy, did you miss me? And it says, okay, Billy, see you later. As you can see, it said Billy 3 times, but I only had to write it 1 time because we stored it in a variable, and then we used that variable throughout the rest of our code. So variables are very powerful, and now you see how those work. The next thing I'm going to teach you about is called a function. There we go. functions, a function is a piece of code that can be run over and over again. It's basically a set of rules that does something specific. So if you take something normal like a microwave, for example, that has a specific function. A specific function of the microwave is to make your food warm. That's it. That's what it does. It makes your food warm. It doesn't make it cold. It makes it warm. A function in programming is the same. It does something, and that's all it does. It does something very specific. So an example of a function, I'm going to give it a name called say hi. And this function is going to say hi. Okay, it's going to send out a message that says hi. And now every single time I run this function by writing its name and putting some parentheses after it, it's going to say hi, and it's going to be really annoying. See, there it is right there. It says it. I'm going to refresh the page, and it says hi. Now, you might think that seems kind of pointless, but what if we wanted to run that 10 times, you know? Say hi, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now it should say it 10 times, but I only had to write all this code only once. Okay, hi. Let's refresh. Hi. Wow. Okay. So you see, it's reusable. I wrote that code only once, but it said it every time that I called the function. So as you can see, programming is actually really simple. I showed you some very basic rules, and I'm going to teach you one more thing before we get into the actual functionality of this app. All right, the last thing I'm going over is called if statements or conditionals, okay? Conditionals mean that something only happens if a condition is met, okay? It's really simple. It tells your code to do something only if something is true. If, like, for example, I could say, everybody, if your name starts with the letter A, raise your hand. And everyone whose name starts with an A would raise their hand, and no one else would. But if your name doesn't start with an A, you would not raise your hand. You would not follow that instruction. Programming is the exact same. It checks if something is true, and if it's true, it does that thing, and if it's not true, then it skips that instruction. So here's an example, okay? If name equals Ross. Actually, excuse me. Let me set a variable. Name equals Ross, okay? And now I'm going to check. If the name is Ross, then I want you to alert and say, this name is Ross. If it's not Ross, I want it to alert and say, this is not Ross. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, there's the box. It says this name is Ross. Now, let's see what happens if I change it to Jack. All right, this is not Ross. See how that works? I didn't have to change this code at all. It just checked. It said, is the name Ross? And it's either, if it is, then it runs this. Otherwise, else, it runs this. That's it. If statements are very simple. Programming is easy. And for some reason, they still pay a lot for it. So let's let's get started. We're going to look at our HTML one more time. Well, probably more than one more time, but for now, one more time. Okay, we're going to write our calculator. What we're going to do, we're going to want to modify, we're going to want to know what people are putting inside of our input for the number, right? Well, let's get rid of that. This part right here, we're going to want to know what people are typing there. We are going to want to know whether they're clicking this button or this button or this button, right? The add button, the subtract button, the multiply button, divide button, equals button, clear button. You see I've given them each IDs so that I can reference each of them individually. I can say, get the button with the ID of add, or get the button with the ID of subtract, right? And then I want to tell it what should happen if someone clicks on it. So that's pretty much it. Let's get started. Let's get started writing our script. It's going to be kind of a long script, actually. It's about 70 lines, but it's cool. You guys are smart. The first thing we're going to do, make a function that runs. Right? We want all our code to be contained in a function. And since we're building a calculator, we're going to call our function calculator because we're super creative. Function calculator. There we go. That's how we make it. We write the word function. We write the name of it that we make up. It could also be something awesome. I wrote that wrong. Something awesome. if we wanted it to, but I don't. I want it to be calculator. There we go. And then we put parentheses, and then we put curly braces. Okay, next step, we want to get each of these elements. Let's see, where was the HTML? We want to get this thing and each of these buttons by their IDs so we can use them in the code so we know what's happening, like I said. So, wrong button, there we go. So, let's start by doing that. So, get the elements and store them in variables. Now, you'll notice, remember in HTML we had comments that didn't show up in the actual thing, but they stayed in the code for us to look at and read for our own notes? That's what these things are. When I put the 2 slashes in JavaScript, that makes a comment. It won't show up here anywhere. It's just here. Okay, so here we're going to store the elements in variables. So remember, we write var, and then let's start with the addition button, add. We're going to call it add. We can call that whatever we want. We can call it add 33 awesomeness if we wanted, but no, we're going to call it add. Then we're going to set it equal to something, right? That's not right. We want to store the element from the HTML. Remember how I said if we want to access things from the web page, we have to use the word document? That's what we're going to do. We're going to say inside of our document, which is this giant thing, I want you dot get elements, right? Because each of these things is an element. This is the H1 element, the P element, the input element, right? We want to say get element by ID because we set an ID on each of them. And then we're just going to say, let's see here, what was this one's ID called? It's called add. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this list actually so that we can, so we don't have to keep looking back at the file, okay? I'm going to paste it down here. This code will break the website if I try to run it, but we'll just look at it for now so we know what we're getting, right? So for the add button, get the element by ID add, okay? So now this variable is actually storing this thing. It's weird. It's cool though. Okay, so let's do the same for subtract. Var subtract equals document.get elements by ID subtract. Yeah, and then same for multiply. So again, if you guys have questions about anything, let me know. I find that you will learn best by doing, which is why I'm using kind of a complex example to start us out. Because if you try to build this and if you fail, that is when you will learn the most. If you have questions about it and I can answer those questions, which I can answer those questions if you post them in the group, that is how you will learn the best, the fastest. That is what will prepare you for real world scenarios. Every day at my job, I run into things that I don't know how to do. And that is what, once I figure those things out, that's what pushes me to be a better developer and just get better at what I do. Up here, I have a typo. There we go. Get element by ID, that one is called equals. And then the all clear button, var clear equals documents, get elements by ID clear. All right, so I selected all of those. And we probably want our input too. I think I called that, I don't know what I called that. Doesn't matter. I don't think we need it right now, actually. Next step, excuse me. The code doesn't do anything yet. We didn't even run our function yet. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make another function inside of the calculator function. And we are going to call it do operation because remember from basic math, right? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. Those are all called operators, okay? Add does the operation of adding two things together. It does the plus operation. Subtract does the minus operation. It subtracts one thing from another, right? So we're going to make a function that does those operations. Function, do operation. Remember camel casing from the last one? We do that in JavaScript too. Okay? And now I'm just going to make a new variable for number, and I'm going to get the number. Oh, it's showing me that it's broken because my code is incomplete. Let's refresh that. Okay, whatever number's in here. There we go. Whatever number's in here, I want to get that and use the operator on it when someone clicks a button. Okay, so we're going to document.get element by ID, and let's find out what we called that. We called it number. Wow, that's creative. Okay, so get element by ID number, and we are going to, so now that's how we're going to get that variable. We're going to say that number dot value because it's an input. And when we're using inputs, we can say get the value out of that input. And I can actually prove it to you. Let's just do let's not do that right now, actually. Let's stay on track. Okay. Now, the way a calculator usually works is someone enters a number like 5, and then they hit plus, and when they hit plus, that 5 disappears so that you can enter the next number, right? So we want to do that too. We want to make that disappear. So we're going to say, okay, now that we've stored our number in a variable, let's set the value of this input back to 0 so we can enter the next number. So we're going to say document get element by ID number dot value, and we're going to set it equal to nothing, a blank string, just empty quotation marks. And then oh, something I forgot. So this number is going to be a string. That means JavaScript will see it as text. It will be like saying, what is apple plus 3? That won't make any sense. We have to tell JavaScript that this is a number, specifically an integer. So an integer is a number that is not decimal, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all integers. 4.5, that is not an integer. That is a float. That's a double. We are not working with those right now. We're just working with whole numbers, okay? So we are going to set number equal to itself, but we're going to tell JavaScript parse the number as an integer. So we're going to use parse int, and we're going to say number. So now number, JavaScript knows it's a number, so now it can add it, it can multiply it, it can subtract it, it can divide it without getting confused. It's programming. So here's the thing about programming. This is the thing that people find difficult about it. You have to be extremely specific when you program. If you are not extremely specific, the computer will always follow your instructions exactly. And if you forget to give it an instruction, or you give it too many instructions, it won't actually get confused. It'll follow all of them. Like if you said to somebody, go get in the car and bring the dog with you, right? You would expect them to grab the dog and then go get in the car. But a computer would follow your instructions in order. So first it would go, it would step in the car, it would get in there, and then it would try to get the dog, but it wouldn't get out of the car first. So it would be stupid and it just wouldn't do it. That's how computers work. They're actually really stupid, and we have to tell them exactly what to do in the exact right order. We even have to tell it, no, the number 1 is actually a number, not a word that looks like a number. Like we actually have to tell it that stuff. So just keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. Next step, we're going to use some if statements. We're going to say if the operation, if they haven't clicked anything yet, then all we want to do, oh wait, I forgot something. Up here where we made our variables, we need something that's going to store the result, right? If we add 2 numbers together, I need something waiting to hold that result, right? Otherwise, we won't be able to show it. So we're going to say result is going to be equal to 0, right? That's a good way to start out. And then we also want something to know what button you clicked, right? We're going to say, did they click the plus? Did they click the minus? Did they click the times? Who knows, right? So we're going to say operation is equal to empty. We don't know yet, right? So down here, we're going to make an if statement. Check if any operator has been clicked or selected, right? So if an operator like plus or minus is selected, then this will actually look like that if minus is selected, or that like if plus is selected, right? Or actually, I think it'll look more like plus or minus or divide, something like that, right? But if there's nothing selected, it's just going to look empty. So let's check if anything's been selected, okay? If operation is equal to nothing, then we're going to set the result equal to a number, okay? Because remember, we got the number. So if someone clicks here and enters the number 6, and then they click on an operation, right? Before they clicked that, our result was 0 and our operation was nothing, right? So if the operation was nothing, then we say, well, now the result is 6, right? Because that's what they entered. So now when they click something else, like they enter 3 and hit plus, or equals, then it will go back through and it'll say, well, they had already clicked the plus sign and they just entered the number 3, which would come from here. So then it would add the 6 and the 3 together. You'll see how it works. Anyway, so if the operator is nothing, then it's going to set the result to the number. Check if the plus operator has been selected. If operation is plus, dang, yeah, I've been a bit sick. Sorry about that. Then we're going to set the result to the result plus number. Pretty simple, right? If it's plus, then set our result to itself plus that. Because let's say, I'm just going to show you a quick example, right? Person enters number 5. Person clicks plus. Person enters number 3. Okay, what we want this thing to do is go, okay, well, result was 5, and then they clicked operator plus, and then they clicked number 3. So 5 plus 3 equals 8. So our result should now equal 8. That's what we're telling the computer to do. Okay, but all we had to say was set the result to itself plus the number. Excuse me. All right, let's move on. Do the same thing for minus, okay? Check if the minus operator has been selected. If operation is minus, result equals result minus number. Should make sense to you by now. Let me know if it doesn't. You know what? I'm not even gonna keep writing these comments because I'm sick of them. No, I will for you guys, so you can look back at them and know exactly what's going on. Check if the multiply operator has been selected, right? So we can say this times this. Operation equals multiply. Result equals result times number. And check if the divide operator has been selected. If operation divide, result equals result divided by number. And we actually have to put this in parentheses because it got a little confused for some reason when I ran it. True story, I think. I don't know. We'll get into that later. Okay, so now we're handling all these things. If someone clicks nothing, or if they click plus, minus, multiply, divide, those are all things that do operation handles. That function, anytime we are handling a button click, if a button is clicked, we say, okay, do the operation, and we never have to write any of these lines of code again. Okay, so let me just give that a comment. Do something if an operator is clicked. All right, let's move on to our clicks. Now we have to make sure that anytime, what did I click there? Okay, anytime one of these buttons is clicked, we want to make sure they know what to do because currently nothing happens. All right, so remember how we saved all the buttons in variables up here? Well, now it's time to cash in on that. Okay, we're going to tell add, when you're clicked, do this. Subtract, when you're clicked, do that. Okay, let's just start. Handle the add click. Okay, so we say add dot, which dot is a way of accessing things that can happen to a function or a variable. Anyway, we're going to say add dot on click, all one word, equals a function. And when it's clicked, we want to do our operation. Remember, the add operation is clicked, so we're going to call this, say, hey, do operation, and it's going to go through and it's going to say, okay, did they click this one, or did they click the plus, or did they click the minus, and it's going to figure it out. So all we have to write is do operation, and that's it. And then we just have to say, okay, which operation is it? Remember, we have the operation variable up here. We want to say, well, they clicked the add button, they clicked this button, so we got to set it to a plus. So we say operation equals plus. And then we're going to handle the subtract click. All right, And that's pretty much the same. Subtract on click equals function, do operation, operation equals minus. All right, let's do the same thing for the multiply click. Multiply dot on click equals function, do operation, operation equals multiply. Do you see how we wrote do operation 3 times? That means we didn't have to write, let's see here, all these lines of code more than once, okay? We wrote all those lines and we have to run them every single button that gets clicked, but since we put it in a function, it takes 1 line instead of like 20. Dang, I do not sound good. Divide click. Let's do our divided click. Handle the divide click. Divide dot on click equals function, do operation, operation equals divide. And the last thing is, of course, the clear click, right? Because we want to be able to clear the calculator, so handle the clear click. Divide, or not divide, clear dot on click, nope, on click equals function, do nope, we don't need to do the operation, we just need to clear whatever's the input. Excuse me. So we're gonna select our input, document.getElementById, number, we're gonna set its value to nothing, and then we're gonna set our result back to 0 because we're clearing the calculator so we can start over again. And believe it or not, guys, that is all the code we need to make this work. But you'll notice if we try to run it right now, it's actually not going to do anything, right? Oh, that didn't clear it at all. 10 plus 5 equals nothing. It says 5 still. That's stupid, right? Because we put all this in a function called calculator. Dang, I'm having trouble breathing. We put it in a function called calculator, and we forgot to run calculator. So let's go to the bottom of this, and let's just write calculator. Like that. All right, now let's run it and see what happens. I'm gonna refresh the page. Let's see if it runs. I'm gonna write 10 plus, oh, see it cleared. Now I'm gonna write 5 and I'm gonna say equals, and that didn't work. So let me open my console really quick. There are no errors. Let's see if I missed something. Just go back through my code really quick. Oh, we didn't handle what happens if you click the equals. So let's put that right here before the clear. Okay, handle the equals click. Equals dot on click equals function, do operation. Yep, we're gonna do our operation. Document dot, and then and this one we're a little bit different. We're setting the we're gonna set this input to the value of, you know, the numbers that we just added or subtracted or operated on, right? So we're going to get the element by ID number, so we're going to select the input, and we're going to set its value to the results, because the result is what's been storing the operation, right? So now let's refresh and see what happens. Okay, and let's do 10 plus 5 equals, and there we have 15. Okay, let's click all clear. Let's try something else. 20 times 3 equals 60. 50 divided by 2 equals 25. It's been about 30 minutes, just over, and you guys, we wrote a fully functional JavaScript program. Congratulations, you guys saw how to do functions, and let's see your functions and variables. You saw how to use conditionals, if statements, and how to set on-click properties, how to access the document. It has been amazing. This is a sort of programming that you can literally go out and get a job paying $120,000 a year, and you'll be writing this sort of code. I'm not even kidding. I know people that have done it. I've done it. It's like, it's not difficult once you get good at this sort of stuff that we wrote today, and just a few other things. But like, this is the core stuff. This is the stuff that I had to learn that got me my first job for $80,000 a year. This is the stuff that I knew when I started making $45 an hour, which is 90,000 a year, right? This is the sort of stuff that got me my first six-figure job. So these are the sort of things you need to know. Go through this, learn it, ask me every question that you want, anything you need to know to understand it, because seriously, this is just what you need to know if you're going to make a lot of money in the web space. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Seriously, ask any questions. I'm here to teach you.